First up is Tom Bugsy.
Portrait of a Rainmaker as a self-made weather event. The fiercely industrious, fastidious rainmaker fashions from a foggy dew, drop by pearly drop, the liquid baths for a mega cloudburst. Finger rolling each splashy spear, the rainmaker fills innumerable barrels to the brim with his Pupio sculpture, meticulous not to lose a dribble. Draining every barrel to its brim, the rainmaker then awaits the coming of a pregnant black cloud. When it comes, the drought killer ascends into it to artfully and actively commingle. His huge, pendulous guts stir and slosh, expected for a bolt of lightning to split the parched buster wide open again. Zap! A blast of blaze strikes, and it's raining, downpouring a million wet pieces of a long-ago baby, breastfed on the dark, lovely milk of Mother Thunder. Second one, there's been a terrible accident at the pretzel factory. Dad worked 30 years down at the old Pretzel King's main plant. Punching in ever early, the old man left every late shift, slinging his tin lunchbox with a torn Packer sticker that invariably held the same peanut butter and pale bologna sandwich with the occasional bruised banana inside. After the explosion, the two Pretzel Kings, Oscar and Irv, sent Dad's flattened lunchbox back, along with a coupon for their new line of softer, low-sodium pretzels. Dad was right. The Pretzel Kings were some Cracker Jack bastards. This is the miracle creation of the New Testament corn dog. It all happened when Jesus multiplied the bread and fishes. The growly multitude expanded, of course, getting bigger and growlier. Finally, there was no more baked fish and sourdough bread. Freaked, the apostles ran to Jesus imploring for more grub. All right, Jesus calmly repeated. Matthew, get me an empty picnic basket. Peter, fetch me a fresh ear of sweet corn. John, bring me a dachshund. And Judas, you knucklehead, drop the hamster. This is called haute couture. Mortified by its stark and utter nakedness, the prudy skeleton hides in the hedges outside the drafty storied mansion. When the candles go out, it will gather its bones, climb the hanging ivy, and via the balcony, enter the master's suite, there to hopefully find its special place and new room, new home, a walk-in closet. This is called Happy Birthday God. Dude, you're 6 billion years old today. Congratulations, many more. Now close those omnipotent orbs and make a wish. Then blow out the universe. This last one's called Reset or Die. I called the suicide prevention hotline. They hung up on me. I called back. This time they threatened me with grave physical harm. Boy, oh boy, was I back.
No.
Thank you, Tom. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So this piece I'm going to read is a flash fiction, and flash fiction there's varying definitions, but it's usually under 600 words. The piece tonight I'm going to read is titled Smitten. The newspaper got it wrong, which was unfortunate for Paul Paulson. Had he seen the news story, he would have been devastated and disgusted that the media would take something so beautiful, so pure, and turn it into something so ugly. Luckily, Paulson never read the story. He was dead. Oh, the newspaper got a few things right. Paulson was 33 and had worked third shift at the cannery in Pickett. A co-worker was quoted as saying Paulson was a quiet man, short and shy, unlucky with women. As much as it would have pained him, Paulson himself would have admitted it was true. Mrs. Kowalski, the old woman who lived on the corner opposite Paulson, testified at the murder trial that Paul was outside every weekday before and after school. Always staring at those kids crossing at our corner. He was a pervert, she spat, hunched over the microphone. Another witness, Mrs. Dixon, told her that day when her daughter came home from school, her pants dirty. There was a partial fingerprint on her pants in the area of her right thigh. Looked like it was ink or something, she testified. That's when I called for my husband. Mrs. Dixon's husband, James, was the person on trial. He claimed his daughter told him Mr. Paulson had touched her inappropriately. When Dixon confronted Paulson on Paulson's front porch, Paulson practically admitted it. What happened after that, Dixon wasn't sure. Words were exchanged, his gun went off, he hadn't even remembered bringing it. In Judge's chambers, the Dixon girl calmly swung her legs under the overstuffed chair. She wasn't sure what the fuss was about. Had her daddy asked, she would have told him that her pant leg got stuck in the chain of her bicycle and she'd fallen over on Mr. Paulson's lawn. Mr. Paulson held her leg while he freed her pants. He was kind about it and didn't say much. He never did, even when she'd shout hi and wave riding her bike one-handed. In fact, no matter what trick she did on her bike, he never seemed to notice. He was too smitten with the crossing guard. Thank you. A big round for Tom for putting this together, and for Planet Cook for hosting.
Oh, I'm going to read from my book, Shattered. And because November 4th and 5th, I'm going to be on a panel at the Southeast Book Festival, so I need to practice. And so the speech is going to go like this, or I'll change it depending on how you react. Okay, so thanks for coming. My name is Doug Cannon. I'm from Oshkosh. And then I'll go Laureate of Oshkosh. I get asked a lot what that means, and it means that there's not a lot of applicants. But I am a poet, I take it very seriously. Tonight I'm a novelist, and so I'm going to be reading from my novel, Shattered. So I thought I would just start reading from the beginning. Egan Holiday Inn, July 8th, 1995. A microphone runs out from the DJ booth. The gig is just a cocktail lounge and not a booking in a big comedy club. But it's a stage, and when I am done, I will want to go back up. It's my sanctuary. I am 6'6" and tower over the people sitting around the makeshift stage on the dance floor. My frizzy long hair is hot from being too close to the cans. Though I slouch on the stool, I still fill the stage. Besides being tall, I'm shaped like an all-star wrestler from the 70s, or John Goodman. In other words, bad. I became a stand-up for the same reason as the other comedians. I tell the people as they sip their drinks and gaze at me, pick out women. The people laugh, even though it's an old joke. Smoking my cigarette, swirls in the light. That's what got all the great comedians into the business. Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor, Jerry Seinfeld, and Rosie O'Donnell. This gets a bigger laugh than shit deserves, but it's still a laugh. For eye candy like this one, I wink at a girl in the front row and mouth, "You and me, baby." I shake her hand in her boyfriend's hand and say, "Only kidding." The other two comics of the crowd warmed up, and everyone has had enough to drink. Otherwise, no one would be laughing. I'm burned out for 6 months on the road. The boyfriend has now put a protective arm around his woman. She is not beautiful, but has smooth, unblemished face. The chestnut hair teased her arm like a lion's mane. I like her eyes and her laugh that shows like teeth. There is always a woman like her with a low-cut dress showing off her tan scoops of cleavage, at least on Saturday night because that's date night. These sexy women always have a well-dressed husband or a boyfriend sitting next to them, but when I am up here, their eyes are on me. My guy is doing a lot of talking on my right, and every step I take clumps on the platform. Both are distractions, and I want to blame them for not getting in my rhythm. I've been off the whole night, though. It must be that Elaine is in the audience. I search the crowd for my best friend. I do that from the kitchen doorway while waiting to be introduced. I'm searching for her now, and it's throwing my timing off. But dating is rough being this tall, I tell the crowd, gripping the mic stand. On first date, you always have to compliment the other person, right? I always end up saying, you part your hair very nicely. And the worst part is, she usually returns with, I'm a short woman now, squinting at a person towering over me, nice nose hairs. The crowd laughs. I let them, finishing a cigarette and finding the ashtray on the floor. A table of ladies is laughing, so I give them more time by lighting a new cigarette and taking a drive. Smoking on stage is my prop, and it gives me my timing. I just have to avoid looking like Andrew Day's play. Speaking of awkwardly big, I went shopping for clothes today. I say this to them after a slightly too long lull. Remember, it's 1995. I put the microphone in my mouth. Yeah, in the Jolly Green Giant section. The only clothes I can find are double overalls with Bubba stitched on the chest. Finally, I gave up shopping at one of those big and tall shops. Naked and broke is what they should call them. All I could afford there was a pair of socks. And no matter how thick that wool is, you need more than a $20 pair of stockings to survive a Minnesota winter. I blow out smoke, making a cloud around my head. Too many people are looking at their bills. For some reason, people think that they can make comments about my weight because I'm tall. Things they wouldn't say if I was just fat, at least in my face. And it's not like they're not afraid I will beat them up, because they are, but because they think something so large must have less feelings. When I'm not doing stand-up, I'm an inventor to meet the needs of rednecks. My latest gadget is a lawnmower with an attachment for mowing under cars up on blocks. Mild laughter, pity laughter. I end with a big rant on how I'm growing up living with my mom and these three sisters. All the time I'm looking for Elaine. I'm Mikey Haskell. Thanks for being a great crowd. I put the mic on the stand and shake the MC's hand. Even with a terrible set, I already want to go back up on stage and be in the moment. Then 3. So you may have noticed similarities between Mikey and myself. Those who read my book, I'm not going to throw anything tonight. You may have noticed that Mikey is a big, tall, fat guy, and so am I. And for those people, I say, shame on you. But given a chance, I have more to say about that. All right, who would like to go next?
I'm going to ask the same question I asked another gathering. Would you like the creepy story or the campfire story? One more precisely.
Campfire, we don't have to.
Okay.
I assume it was both.
You've heard it before? Yeah, you might have, Tom.
He said he wants you to do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it is both. Yeah, I'm down for both of them.
Okay. You asked. They're both true stories, by the way. This one is called First Day of Class. We filed into the lab calmly. Everything looked normal. There were rows of binoc scopes with slides set up on the lab benches and chairs around a video monitor and podium. The first day in a new lab class is always a little unnerving. The assistant was setting up rows of bottles of hand sanitizer. She gave us an odd, twisted smile as she left. The professor waved to the chairs and we took seats. By the video monitor, the professor walked to the podium. Welcome to the laboratory section of Parasitology 101. This class covers both the large internal parasites and the smaller external parasites. I give extra credit if you bring something interesting in. Maybe you've got younger brothers or sisters? Maybe pets? He smiled. Last year, pinworms went around the dorms. I gave lots of extra points then. He nodded at the looks on our faces and handed out the syllabus. We only have one semester, so you have to go fast. Today, we'll be watching a video on scabies, and then the removal of a guinea worm. After that, you can look at some samples of scabies under the scopes. Be careful. They're still contagious. If you have any particularly active ones, tell us, and let everyone have a look.
And people wonder why professors have a reputation for being crazy. Was that the creepy one?
That's the creepy one.
That makes a creepy feeling. Especially if you've never seen scabies. I didn't describe it. Especially not under microscope with a good bit of magnification. Yeah. Okay.
This is another short one. This is my campfire story. Can we tell ghost stories, we asked as we gathered around the campfire. There aren't many chances to do that at Christian Bible camp. We'd normally be too well supervised, singing our nice campfire songs. But after the canoe trip that ended with the camp leader, my dad, the guitarist, and the guitar all hitting the water, we had time and not much else. Only old Pastor Mark was left. He shrugged like he didn't care. And we started with our scariest stories, but he yawned through all of them. Even the one when I told about the crazy serial killer that haunted summer camps, and then broke a twig under my foot and said, "What's that behind us?" Yeah, no reaction. We hoped he'd fall asleep and we could get up to mischief, though we weren't positive what kind of mischief we could get up with. Someone asked if he knew any stories, and he sighed. I guess I could tell a little story from when I was young. Then we go to bed. We all settled in politely to listen to some moral tale. It was my first job, sometime in the, as you say, prehistoric 50s. I was working for a carpenter. The cemetery had to be moved to make room for a new road. Many of the coffins would have to be replaced, and at the price of $20 apiece, plus the regular pay for our time, we stood to make good money. Just make a pile of boxes bigger than a coffin and dump any of the rotten coffins in them. We were finished with the 5th box when we heard a scream from one of the young ditch diggers digging up the coffins. This guy was buried alive. My boss and the other ditch diggers laughed. Those bones move when you lifted the coffin. When the body rots away, the bones move at the slightest touch. I lifted the coffin and dropped it in the box. My curiosity got the best of me and I looked in. He paused and sipped his coffee. The campfire popped and the darkness crawled closer. I was disappointed. Just dry bones. Didn't even look human. And scraps of cloth. I was reaching for the lid of a new box to hammer it on when Cynthia handed me the lid of the old coffin. "You might as well drop this in. Maybe the name is on it." I lifted the lid on the old coffin. It landed upside down. Then the light hit the deep scratches on the lid. 5 scratches that went halfway through the wood. We stared at him in silence. "It's late," he said. "I can tell you some more stories tomorrow. Let's get to bed. We were silent on our way to the cabins. On the top bunk that night, I found the ceiling far too close for my comfort. And my bunkmate pulling on the springs on the underside didn't help. Later, someone asked me why I started writing horror stories. I said, because sometimes the monsters are much nicer than reality.
True stories, Walter. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
And now we're working with our sponsor. Well, she's not a sponsor, but she's
It's the best sponsorship ever. It's free.
free.
Some of you may remember me or know me as Stacey Penny. I was remarried. The last time she used to go car about 5 years ago. So just FYI in case that has confused anyone. So a few months ago, my husband Mike and I decided that we wanted to foster and encourage creators in the Oshkosh area. Part of doing that is attendance at events like this. It's also supporting other community activities like our photography club in Oshkosh. There's a fine arts association. There is Oshkosh Arts Collective that runs on Instagram that sponsors various events and coordinates various events and activities in town. And the Creativity Emporium eventually has goals to open up a makerspace here in Oshkosh where people can drop in and make items, whether it's art or fiber work or writing activities, but also then foster the people who are doing and making things in Oshkosh. We have printmakers in town. We have people who do beautiful watercolor paintings, oils, and studio space is something that we are lacking here in Oshkosh. And then combining those things as well as having space for casual people as well as people who need a dedicated space as part of our goals and initiatives. So right now we're just starting to gather surveys and interests. We're looking to bring creativity into other events and organizations. So if you've got interest in discussing what that could mean for an event you're part of or an organization that you work with, please let me know, and I will give you one of my business cards and we can talk. Thanks.
You want to say who it is over the, like how to contact?
For those that are online, you can look us up at Enable Creators at Facebook or Instagram. Just searching for the Creativity Emporium or Enable Creators will work. Otherwise, our email is enablecreators@gmail.com. My name is Jennah Johnson.
Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I've never read anything in front of a room or anyone before, so we'll see if it goes there or not. My first poem is Confessions. I stole from the Walmart on West Avenue every time. My biggest accomplishment is probably my latest breakup. I frequently let panic get the best of me. Last summer, I was frenzied or bored enough to cut my arms again. I freaked everyone out, slurring, "Fuck, I don't even do that anymore!" Through the thick of embarrassment and clogged tears. My stomach was the punchline of my body for years. I won't die in the pursuit of thinness. I mostly lack the desire, but have always lacked the discipline. The few things I know about myself for certain feel merely memorized or rehearsed. I'm so glad I talked to you on the last day you were alive. I have outlived too many people I love. The biggest blessing in any relationship will be letting me die first. Stability is incredibly expensive, so I've been saving up my mood stabilizers. It shows. It's like I've been put on SSRIs and now I have to undo the psychoelectric damage. When I'm anxious, I absently shove my tongue in the grave of my ruptured tooth filling I couldn't afford to save. I'm perpetually miserable. I'm pointing fingers. I expertly cast blame. I'm obliterating a fat green bowl with my heart-shaped pipe before daylight jumps. Yesterday, a friend and I smoked beneath a warm swarm of sun and mosquitoes for like 5 hours straight, and I think that might be enough to get me through the week. I will tongue acid for the first time since 11th grade soon. I use your last lighter to smoke your favorite cigarettes. I fucking hate them. I can feel my collarbones again, and I don't care. I throw up almost every day, but it's not always on purpose anymore. I quietly appreciate how the leaves outside my window bleed into the sun. It's almost mystical. There is something deeply wrong with me. Sometimes I'm unsure whether or not I have the capacity to love at all. Other times, I obviously love so purely. I accept that I know very little in the grand scheme of things. I have long since expired what my therapist used to call the suicide card. Still, I write this poem. And I have one more to read. This one is called Dead Girl Walking. We fucked ourselves over because that's what teenage girls do. We pawned our great aunt's wedding rings and gagged on cigarette smoke in the leather bellies of Jeeps that weren't ours. Felt the stir in our stomachs and kicked the pebbles in the Planned Parenthood parking lot, seeing ourselves in them. We were beaten by our boyfriends, our friends, our fathers, our brothers, until at one point they all looked the same. Liquid anger and teenage anguish dripped and flooded over beer bottles, guzzled down on the couch, stained. 18 has forever been a rope around my neck. What a graveyard our bodies can become. For the fetuses our useless wombs couldn't sustain. For the love marks left by boys who wanted to see us torn open. For the psycho rom-coms burnt out of us. Our lives were blurs of infertile wishing stars, glowing skin, shriveled cigarette butts, bruises like rotten fruit. Now we spill our hearts out in cemeteries, bodies gaped open by worms like confetti. I am an object of desire. I wear a glimmering chain around my neck, and I cry when Laycock tells me that I have fallen in love with a ward. We are perfect matches designed to self-destruct. Teenage girls are meant to be unlovable. None of us are prom queens. Devil incarnate, we cried and bled lonely in front of everyone, thunder and lightning. I'll wake up on a different planet every morning, 11:11. I used to be a miracle, just ask my mother. I'm a tomb of emotions, the place where boys come to die. Of course I'm going to fuck myself. That's what real teenage girls do.
I want to close with a poem or two from one of the poets that inspired me to become the poet laureate, trying to be that. Paul Christie, he's passed on. He dedicated his life to poetry, and he won't be as great as hearing it from his voice. The noise of the world. In night, the street light stabs, shades of the maple tree, the edges soft and rustling. How in memory I walk, the breeze of midsummer, the grass turns to seed, weeds into the field, the voice inside relaxes. The mind is tough like iron, I step on pavement. My breathing becomes consciousness, there's nowhere to run. A vast concern. What a realization to know alone I am. A few cells organized by a good grand scheme can't be by accident, but alone. The sea swells, waves roll, whitecaps, clouds white billowy, only to change under a blue sky, not even constant, patterns moving. Thank you. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for that part, and thanks for sharing tonight.